Hello everyone, it's me Lamani, and we have some exciting news. You can see the Winter Convergence Festival along with all of patch 1.2 is coming early tomorrow. There'll be some downtime and then everything will go live hopefully tomorrow evening, but there are some big things I want to talk to you about. How is the meta going to shift? What are we going to be seeing in this patch? And just some other general crafting and quality of life changes. Big things are happening here, and I think it's going to be great for improving New World into the future. So let's get started. First things first, you're going to see our old friend, the Winter Wanderer. I am so excited for this event, Winter Convergence Festival. You're going to have all kinds of cool things to do that are festival related. You can go along collecting presents, getting Gleamite, going into these new ice caves, and there's festive loot to pick up. All kinds of stuff across Eternum, limited content for the holiday. You can get some cool cosmetics. You can get some cool weapons that have luck on them and get all kinds of great corrupted gear. If you haven't seen what you can get from the Winter Wanderer, check out this video that I'm linking above, and you can see what I think is the best to take advantage of the holiday event coming. Either way, super excited for that event. But what's the real big thing coming out of this update? It is the end game changes. For starters, I'm going to just brush over this, but the end game high watermark system is being renamed the expertise system. They're also adding Gypsum into the game. If you do not understand what these are, I want you to go somewhere up here, up in the sky up there. There will be a link to my video covering expertise and Gypsum for patch 1.2. Essentially, the gearing system has changed. It's a huge fundamental change for the game, but I think it's going to be better. If you want a better understanding of how this is actually going to work, check out that video. But to give you a quick overview, we now have an expertise level that we can see for each slot that is going to dictate our gear score for that slot. We can manually increase expertise by obtaining Gypsum, and Gypsum will be obtained through all sorts of different avenues in endgame content. What else are we going to see? In terms of expeditions and loot drops, we are going to have less loot coming from chests and more dropping from things like expeditions. So in addition to Gypsum coming out of expeditions, each boss is going to guarantee expertise bumps, and arena bosses will as well, hopefully driving up the arena boss rate. Something else that's coming in expedition is timeless shards. These are a new crafting ingredient that are going to allow you to guarantee an attribute on to any item as well as a single perk. Meaning we can more effectively pull our best in slot items because we can force not only the perk like we could now or only the attribute, we can do one of each. Doing arenas and doing expeditions are going to be much more reliable for increasing your expertise and pulling the best items in the game, meaning these are the types of content you're going to pursue. Chests will not be as effective in increasing expertise, so you're going to start pursuing these different endgame avenues, which I think is great for future gameplay and game longevity. Okay, so now what's the other big change for endgame? POIs. In general, we have two changes. One, Malevolence is now becoming a 66 elite zone, and you can see there's some 6 elite chests there, and you'll get great expertise bumps. It can have end game expertise bumps, meaning it can go size 600. Same with Imperial Palace, 66 content, 8 elite chests, and all of them give expertise bumps in end game level, meaning it can go up to 600. So specifically though with Ebon Scale, some big things we're seeing is one, Daisy the Dancing Bears moved. There were some things you could do to exploit her, and now we can fight her and hopefully get better drops. 2, they moved one of the bosses, Morgulf, just up high deep into the palace, almost by where the tiger spawns. And so it'll be a little bit more difficult, but hopefully you get some good drops. But here's the big one I wanted to highlight. The Forbidden Ritual POI has been discontinued and replaced with a fast travel option. This is really close to Dynasty Shipyard, meaning we can actually fast travel over there. It's going to be much better for running level 66 end game grinding, teams to hit Imperial Palace. It'll also be better if you want to hit up Dynasty. So POI changes I think are great. 66 zones for Malevolence and Imperial Palace, but then for all the other ones, they adjusted the difficulty. Merkguard was a big one. The Sword Boys hit hard. Everybody is less difficult now. You can see Acolytes, Cooks, Priests, Ogres, and Commanders are all less difficult. They also added an elite chest near one of the commanders. I'm not quite sure where this is, but just another elite chest you can go and grab when you grind that zone. Otherwise, you can see pretty much every other POI has had their difficulty adjusted. Mainly they've been reduced. A lot of them are just having difficulties reduced. In their last patch, they overtuned a bit. And if any of you have been in Merkguard, you know what I mean. It's kind of crazy. But big things for POIs. I love this change and I'm super excited to get in there. All right, next section is world experiences. So what are we seeing here? Quests. We have some quest changes to the main story. So great things. I think it's always important that they're adding some variety to the main story to help anybody who's leveling a new character or leveling up for the first time. gives the game some more breadth, makes it more in depth, and I think adding new quests like the 16 additional ones or the 13 additional ones for Morningdale and Restless Shore, why not? Having more quests is never a bad thing. It's enjoyable to do quests. It gives you something else to do, another way of cash flow, and having these different things happen in the main story make your quests more diverse, more fun, and more engaging. We also have housing quests coming. So I need to start doing some of my housing, but there's 7 new quests coming where you help an architect and you're going to get some furniture and decor items. Really cool there. So quests are always changing with these patches, and I think they just keep making them better and better and better. All right, now we have some big changes to combat. First thing, in PvP, we have a damage formula update, and they're going to, for starters, they're changing the way armor mitigation works for players at low levels and high levels. So for players at low levels, they're going to do increased damage to higher level players and reduce the damage that higher level players do to lower level players. What does this mean? Well, a lower level actually has a shot at killing level 60. So a lot of level 60s may not just run around flagged, killing every single person that they see if they're lower level. Some of these players might have a shot now. Let me know how you feel about that change. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. I'll have to see how the scaling works, but it gives other players a fighting shot, right? You actually have a duel you could do. It's not just going to be, well, there's a level 60 here, no point in me flagging, I'm going to die. Gives everybody a fighting chance. Next thing, crit damage application. It is now additive instead of multiplicative. So what does this mean? It means that you're going to see a little bit less damage on crit, but it's still going to help a lot. Just it's not as valuable. Like the patch note says, on average, this will reduce extra damage they provide by 3 to 5% depending on the amount. This might add up if you have a ton of crit damage stacked, but in general, most people are only running a vicious, and so you should see a single-digit percentage change. Nothing too crazy there, it's still great. And then lastly, we have some buffer window changes to kind of give a general sense of consistency across the board for how weapons work with dodges, abilities, CC, and hopefully it's not as clunky, when you're hitting people and they're just dashing through an ability that seems to have hit or done the damage and doesn't really do anything. Hopefully this is just fixing the flow of combat, but we shall see. And then just some random bug fixes with dodges and navigation stuff. Now, this is where I really want to talk to all the healers out there. The perks. There's some adjustments to different perks, just fixing like timers and other bugs we've seen, but there's a lot of additional perks being added. For anybody in professions, you have efficiency perks. If you want to do things faster, go ahead, get this on your gear. It'll be very, very, very valuable. But for us healers, these are the 2 things that we have been concerned about for PvP coming. Now, the percentages are actually lower than what they were originally intended to be. Plagued crits was originally a top end of 40%, so it's nice to see that they took that back a little bit. It makes me not sweat as much, but critical strikes against targets below 50% health inflict disease for 6 seconds, reducing healing effectiveness. This is still a lot. Also comboed with plague strikes, heavy attacks against targets inflict disease for 8 seconds, reducing effectiveness by 10% to 25%. A little concerning. Let's say they run maybe both, right? Maybe they have a plagued crit and a plagued strike, and then when they heavy attack and it crits, you have up to a 50% reduction that you could be seeing. Little bit concerning, but this is mainly a PvP concern. What I will tell you, healers, is be ready for this in war. You won't see as much in like random pug OPRs. People don't care about that as much. But if you are a real war company and you are fighting wars constantly and doing the most meta builds, everybody will have this and the healers will be jumped on. And the scariest part is that as a healer, we cannot remove our own debuffs. So we may have to rely on another healer to actually take the debuffs off of us. Maybe we could do something weird with taking a hatchet and taking berserk and maybe removing debuffs. I don't know. We're going to have to see how intense it is, how much it actually affects us. But this is really going to overtake the PvP meta. Healing's going to be rough. It's going to be tough, but we'll get around it. You're just going to have to try your best. Maybe when you get inflicted with this, try to out heal it. That's all you're going to be able to do. Maybe run some fortify. We're not sure yet. We're going to have to see how it actually plays out. But for coordinated PvP, you will see plagued strikes. Be ready for it. Keep it in mind. And it will also be a hot gold maker early on in this patch. What else are we going to see? Well, there's a lot of other perks being added in, and I know, and we'll talk about this, that the hammer and great axe are nerfed, but in a way, these perks that are being added are actually slightly buffing the great axe and the warhammer. Now, let me tell you why. If you look at something like thwarting strikes, deal 3 to 12% additional damage while you have active grit. Well, with the great axe and the hammer, we are queuing up heavy attacks that give grit all the time, especially with the Warhammer. You never really light attack with the Warhammer. So when we heavy attack, we start to get grit, 12% more damage, right? 12% more damage. Interesting. So it's kind of giving us some more single target, but there's more. Trenchant strikes, fully charged heavy attacks deal 3% to 15% additional damage. Okay, so if we have a fully charged heavy hammer swing with active grit, we can get up to 27% additional damage. But just wait, there's more. Crits, fully charged heavy attacks deal up to 20% additional crit damage. And then fully charged heavy attacks apply a rend for 7 seconds, giving every single build in the game rend opportunity. 12-second cooldown, but that's still pretty high uptime when it's 7 seconds and 12-second cooldown. And then just wait, there's more. A fully charged heavy attack heals the player now for 10 to 30% of the damage dealt. There's a lot of heavy damage stuff for this patch, and I think it's actually going to give those hammer and axe boys a little bit of a single target buff, especially with the axe. It is very easy to hit heavy axe attacks. A little harder to do the hammer, but if you're just standing there going like this with your axe, we already have a ton of passive healing on the tree. What if I'm running recovery with additional damage and then I'm on a legendary or something, and then I also have damage with active grit? You're going to have a ton of healing and a ton of damage in something for group play, OPR. This is really going to swap up the meta for a lot of things. You'll see a lot of abilities where you get active grit when you use it, something like reverse stab or even, whirlwind on your spear. These will change up the melee weapon meta a ton, so be ready for it. Big changes here. And then we have actually a nice defensive buff for armor, something I'm going to be taking in all of my armor pieces as I can get it. Physical aversion and an elemental aversion, just taking less damage. It's like putting in a gem slot. Great perk there. I'm excited for that. But this is where the meta is really going to change. Seeing more heavy attacking, seeing more forced grit on whatever we can from whatever abilities give grit. Be ready for that coming. And then we just have some other bug changes, bug fixes, some weapon fixes, not really any changes per se, but where the big changes do come in for weapons are Life Staff. Life Staff, they changed something with Purified, not important, still doing the same thing. But Beacon, you can no longer toe dip. That's always been my thing. So you can't shoot out your Beacon, run into it, and then run out. It's not going to heal you anymore. You have to stay within your Beacon. So we're going to have to play a little bit differently. But like I was saying, where we are seeing a big change is the Great Axe actually. We're getting a nerf on the Great Axe. Bloodlust has a correct range now on the tooltip, but light attacks and non-fully charged heavy attacks do not do as much homing. They put it down from 4.5 meters to 3.5. Is that big of a change? I'm not really sure, but it's still helpful. Reduced base crit, the haste bonus on Bloodlust is reduced, and Reap has been nerfed a little bit. They did change the grit window for the heavy attack and the axe. It was the whole time as you brought it out. Now it's just the end, kind of like the hammer is, but again, with all of those heavy weapon swing perks, I would not be surprised to just see people spamming heavy attacks all the time. The other big one that I did miss is the changes to the Warhammer. It's mainly just Path of Destiny. If you look at it, they reduced the hit stun from 1 second to 0.33 seconds. So it's less of a stun. I do believe they actually reduced the range of Path of Destiny's circles as well, down 66%. That's not in this patch note, but I know they're doing it and it was on PTR, so that should be there as well. Those are the big weapon changes that I'm concerned about as far as meta swaps, life stat changes, all that stuff. Then just general AI fixes, bug fixes, expedition bugs, fixing issues, just cleaner experiences in all of the expeditions. That's what they're doing there. As far as trade skill aptitude. So it's essentially a prestige system for your trade skills. You max it out to 200. Now you still get XP. And as you get XP, you can get chests once you level it up. In those chests, you'll have crafting materials, but you'll also have crafting artifacts. Crafting artifacts are going to guarantee you a 600 gear score item with a specific appearance that you can choose. I do believe. I haven't done much testing on that, but that is my understanding of this specific appearance note. And it's going to be a great way to force 600 crafts. Great stuff coming for trade skill aptitudes, but refining is the big one. They're now letting us take 250 of a T5 raw ore, wood, fiber, or rawhide and turn it into one legendary material. So for instance, we can take 250 orichalcum and turn it into one tolvium. Keep your tier 5 materials. They will be valuable. Now they're having a lot more value and the prices of them might go down on the market. So keep that in mind. There's an interesting note about loot here. It says there's a number of knights in the game that have valuable items for players 20 to 25. I'll be interested. Maybe I'll take a peek on some of those, but we'll see. In terms of weapon drops, just name changes, more feminine armor appearances. But the big one actually is so that tier 5 amulet ring and earring drops all roll randomly with stats out in level 60 plus content. Meaning, like, you know, those weird green boot drops you get, you can now have those drops for earring, amulet, and ring. This is a blessing. Now that we don't have to just sit and farm name mobs to try and get our expertise up for those slots, we can get those random rolls, meaning there's going to be more out in the market, meaning there's a higher chance of maybe getting a god tier roll because RNG. So overall, it's going to accelerate the expertise for all of your trinkets, and I think that is a fantastic change for loot. And as far as crafting goes, they changed how you craft arena keys. They got rid of corrupted shards and lodestone, so you should be seeing some more arenas out in the world. Other than that, it's pretty much bug fixes, things of that nature, making the UI a little bit better, just random notes, all that stuff. So I'm excited for this patch. Great things are coming. Just to give you a little TLDR, what are we seeing in this patch? Well, one, we have the Winter Convergence Festival. Super fun, excited for that. I'll be doing it live on stream. Gypsum and expertise, again, check my video. I'll link it again above. Check it out if you want expertise in Gypsum understanding. We have a lot of changes coming for perks in the PvP meta. We have all kinds of heavy attack perks happening, healing reduction. Some things will be shifted around. Do not be surprised when you see a ton of plagued stuff in war content and OPR, and you see a lot more people heavy attack spamming with all these new things. As far as weapons, life staff, a little bit of change on beacon, great axe, nerf, warhammer, nerf, but you could argue maybe it's a buff with some of these new perks. I don't know, you tell me. Other than that, just general AI changes, great crafting changes coming, trade skill aptitudes, refining changes, some more loot stuff, POIs are different. I'm excited for this patch. I know I am overly excited. I'm like yelling, okay? I am really stoked for new content, a new world. I think this is bringing it in the right direction, and I can't wait to do some stuff on stream. So thank you all for just listening to me talk about my favorite points of patch 1.2 and helping you to understand how the meta might shift, what else we'll be seeing in the near future. As always, if you want to connect with me, feel free to leave a comment on the video. I will reply. Join our Discord. It will be linked in the description. You can send me a DM, hang out. We have over 1,000 people in there now, and I think that is crazy. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on TikTok. Those will both be linked, but most importantly, follow me on my Twitch channel, also linked. Give it a follow. We stream 10 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday Central Time, and we'll be going 5-6 hours. Been having some great live streams. Come on, stop on in and hang out with me. Otherwise, too, if you want to connect, join us on Eden. Anybody who's interested in joining our company, will be opening up a second company. We're about to hit 100 members, and I just want to get anybody who wants to play. We want to have more 60s so we can start pushing more territories, but it is open to absolutely anybody. You can also support me directly on my Patreon. Thank you to everybody who does support me regularly. It's also linked in the description. But as always, I hope this gave you some clarity. Hope it got you excited. And I just want to say thank you for all of your support. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And thank you all for being you.